Hello, yoga teacher friends. So, you're a yoga teacher, maybe you've been teaching for years, maybe you just got your training certificate, but you might have some privates coming up, or you might be wanting to do privates. There's a lot that goes into formulating privates that you need to know before you make yourself available one-on-one or one to a few in a private practice. This video is going to go over how to structure a one-to-one private yoga class so that you feel comfortable, empowered, and can also be of service, the most service to your student. So let's get started. First things first, if you ask 10 yoga teachers how they would structure a private yoga experience, you will get 10 different answers. That's just kind of the nature. Everyone has their own way that they want to teach, their own way that resonates with them, and that's exactly what will attract your students to you. So yours might look different from this formula in little details, but you will find your stride, and maybe you even take privates with some different teachers and pick and choose the parts that you like. That's part of the process. The main takeaway here is that this isn't about you at all. This is about their experience, your students' experience, and us just holding the space for them and also being super in tune with them, reading their body, being of service to them so that we can maximize their experience and their growth. You don't have to be nervous. You don't be in your ego, of course. This is just for them. So just show up fully for them. So there are virtual privates and in-person privates, very different experiences. You're going to approach them differently, but there are some key things to do for both. My private formula, sounds fancy, formula, but it's a little bit of a formula because I do it every time and I've refined it over the last few years to make it work and get the most out of it for the student. So there are 6 parts to this. We'll cover all 6 in this video. The first part to a private, right when you step into the room with them or turn on your camera with them, is to get their context. Their context meaning, how are they feeling today? What were they doing before this? How is their life going in general? And you're not a therapist, but I'll ask it just like that. Like, hi friend, how's your context? How are you feeling today? Because the thing is, this is for them. We have to understand them and understand where they're at in order to best serve them. A story really quick. I came into a virtual private and in my mind, I knew what I wanted it to look like. I was going to do a strong power vinyasa class because this person was building their strength and their technique. Totally fine. Okay. The thing is, when I showed up into the virtual room with this person, they had a really tough week and they were very sore from something 2 days ago. And still, I went on with the power yoga class and I realized about 20 minutes in that this class had to be nixed and I had to pivot into more of a gentle, heart-centered breathing practice focused class. If I would have gotten their context and known, oh, this person doesn't need a empowering power yoga, strong, hot, sweaty, heat building class, what they need is kindness and gentleness, and they need to take it down a notch. If I would have asked that and listened to them, I would have formulated my class totally differently. At least I was able to pivot in the middle rather than dragging them through something that may have been a hard experience for them. So always get their context first. Doesn't have to be a deep dive, just get their context. The second part of your private yoga class is going to be your teaching or your lecture. So if somebody just wanted an asana practice, and maybe they do, maybe they told you they only want an asana practice, but you can go online and do an asana practice. You can go to a studio and get that asana practice. I like to withhold 3 to 5 minutes of lecture or training on the theory or the concepts of yoga. So sometimes it'll be about chakras. Sometimes I'll talk about how breath works, what expands in the body. I'll talk about anatomy. If we're doing back bending that day, I'll talk about how the thoracic spine isn't as mobile as your lower spine. So there's so many different things that you can speak to that you don't get to do during an asana practice that will help them. And you'll be able to gauge, some of your clients will be super into that. They'll ask questions, they'll want to know more, they'll want to know the mechanics behind it or the concept or the spirituality behind it. Go there with them, right? You have the capacity to. There's a reason why they're taking a private from you. They like your energy. They like the way you put yourself out there, especially if they found you online or in social media, something like that. What we're giving people is an experience. Give them an experience to take away. Something that you say might land, and they'll bring that onto the mat into their physical practice. So I always like to include that bit of lecture. And I've been told that it's sometimes people's favorite part of the class. So keep that in mind. Part 3 is best practices for asana if you're doing an asana practice. So if you're doing a virtual class, a virtual one-on-one, I practice more than I would practice like in studio, because the person is going to look at the screen, they're going to want to see, they need a little bit more cues. I practice about 50% of the class in a virtual one-to-one asana practice. Then the rest of the time, and I let them know that I'm going to be, coming up to the camera, helping them and coming off of the mat to assist them further and deepen the practice. Setting the expectations, being communicative up front is going to be helpful. You're also going to want to incorporate workshops into your one-on-ones a lot. So the reason why people take one-on-ones is usually to deepen their practice. Even if this is a new yogi, I've had a new student, it was their first time, and we workshopped down dog for 3 to 5 minutes. Not too long, because down dog can be quite an intense posture for beginner yogis, but always workshop where the person needs it. You have to be super tuned in to their body, their breathing, their facial expressions, how tense they are, in order to give them the correct cues for them to deepen their practice. So don't be afraid to leave someone in a pose, not leave them, hold them in a pose, be with them in that posture, explain to them the anatomy, explain to them the breathing, cue with them that we're going to be here for a while, calm them down, take their nervous system down. Pro tip on a virtual one-to-one setup, if you're on your mat and you're the teacher and your laptop's over there so that they can see your whole mat and you standing, that's far away. It's going to be hard for you to see them on the laptop. What I do is I have a second laptop or an iPad or tablet, whatever, set up next to my mat. So if I'm on my mat showcasing a posture, I can see them right there so that they can still look at their screen and see my whole asana, but I can see them and give them cues in real time. And then as they're adjusting, as you're cueing them in real time, unlike an in-studio class where maybe you don't call out specific people, this particular time, if you're in a one-on-one virtual, give them feedback, encourage them, tell them nice adjustment, right? You're in a very vulnerable setting when you're with a one-to-one private. Maybe not you're the vulnerable one, but they might, right? So make them feel very held, very comfortable, very supported. Give them feedback, be super in tune, and make it easy for yourself to see them and give them cues. Especially when you're virtual, you want to feel and sound like you're right there with them. So number 4, this one is a big one, and I think it's the most transformational for your student in a one-to-one practice, and it is to encourage them, especially if you are just one-to-one, student to teacher. Hold them. Give the space for them. Make them feel seen, heard, make them feel cared for. We can do this with our words. Give them affirmations, give them good feedback, like great adjustment. Your shoulders look great here. Shine your chest through. That looks amazing. Like, great job with that. Give them that type of feedback. Don't be in the ego and don't feed their ego, but let them know that their efforts and their energy are headed in the right direction. It goes a long way for people to open up when they feel held and seen non-judgmentally. People bloom like flowers. It's beautiful. What this also does is it allows people to trust themselves. So if people need to come out of a pose, they feel comfortable doing that. Sometimes people might take this one-to-one experience as maybe being watched and that they need to go a little bit further. And there is something to that of finding your edge and pushing your boundary, pushing your edge. But you have to empower people to know that they can come out of a pose at any time and it's totally fine because it's their practice. So if I'm teaching a challenging class to someone who I know is trying to really up-level their physical yoga, and they come out of a pose or they fall out of a pose, I encourage that. I say, that's so awesome that you are listening to your body. I'm glad that we're finding your edge. This is going to make this area stronger. We should celebrate it. Encourage them. Encourage, support, be there, be love for them. Just show up. Number 5, this one is simple. Start on time, end on time. Just like if you have ever had an office job where meetings go long, it pushes everything around. You got to respect people's time. You have to end on time. If they want to go a little bit longer and you want to workshop stuff, fine. But know that they might have to call their mom at 11 or go grocery shopping or their significant other needs something. Got to end on time. Number 6, and this one is my secret sauce. I started doing this with my private clients and it really builds the relationship. If you're looking for long-term private clients, you got to do this. And it is giving them a homework or an assignment. So if they're more on the asana side, give them a couple movements to try. One of the homework assignments that I gave one of my clients is to sit in pigeon, 2 minutes each side every night before bed. Pretty simple, right? Had super tight hips. That was going to help them out. If they're working on balance, you can ask them to make coffee in tree pose or incorporate balance into their morning routine, whatever that is. Brushing their teeth, maybe they tree pose. If they're less concerned with asana, more concerned with breath work or just spirituality and the concept of it all, then give them a homework assignment like eating a yogic meal. No music, no talking, no distractions, just you and the food. Say a prayer, say a blessing, go slow, close your eyes, savor every bite. Give them a spiritual experience, incorporate it into their life outside, off the mat. You could even give them something like a journal homework. Every day when you wake up, write 3 things that you're grateful for. Before you go to bed at night, write 5 things that were awesome that day. And just like how we cue for asana and we look at the body and the physical posture and we adjust for that, it's the same with the spiritual or off the mat homework. If you see that they're not trusting themselves or they're not confident, give them a practice off the mat that helps with that. Pro tip on the practice or the homework, never make it a requirement. It is always optional, just like our yoga practice is just an offering. They can take it if they want to. Sometimes it'll resonate, sometimes it won't. And it just is what it is. Some other quick notes for privates is always have an intake form. I will drop a link for my intake form, the one that I use, in my description. It goes over all the pertinent stuff. You need to have it before you meet with anyone. Trust me, it's gonna save you a lot of time and you're gonna be able to provide an awesome experience for your student. Number two, you need to have a release form. I will drop it in the description. It needs to be digital. Make it as easy for them to just sign it and get it over with, because the legal stuff, the release stuff, is not the fun stuff. They don't want to think about that. They want to lower their stress. They want to practice. They want to breathe with you. They don't want to be spending so much time signing release forms. So make it super easy for them. I will drop one in the description. Number three, always send a calendar invite. Always. Trust me on this one. Always send a calendar invite. 4, get ready to recalibrate classes in real time. Just like how I told you the story about I was teaching a power vinyasa class and then I had to switch to basically like a yin gentle yoga class in real time when I saw that emotionally it wasn't the practice that he needed. You're gonna have to do that too. If you're a newer teacher and that seems frightening or scary to you, don't worry, you got it. You have the training. Maybe you even take some private classes with a teacher and you see how they navigate through a class. But don't worry, you have the training, you got it. You're gonna pivot in real time. It's just gonna happen. I've never had a private class go exactly how I thought it was gonna go. We always are incorporating different stuff because you're reading this person in real time. It's gonna change. 5, if you are doing virtual yoga, charge all the things. Charge it the night before. The last thing you want to happen is your mic goes dead, your AirPods go dead, your extra tablet goes dead. Just, you don't want that to happen. It is not an experience that your student wants. It will stress you out and take you out of your teacher zone. And it's also just a little unprofessional. So charge the things. So I hope this was helpful. Even if you just got one little nugget of gold that you can incorporate into your privates, that's awesome. And if I missed anything, put it in the comments below. I will add it to my structure, and I think there's gonna be a part 2 coming, because as I wrote down the structure for this video, I realized there was tons of other stuff that we could incorporate here. So I wish you all the luck with your privates. The main thing is just be there fully for them, be of service, be supportive, and be eager to support, and you're gonna do just fine.